Now, maybe you've been told by your parents, maybe you've been told by your friends, or maybe, when you try to sing in front of people, your nerves get to you, everything tightens up, and all of a sudden you can't even make a sound. So, today's episode, we're going to be tackling this question of how do we become less insecure about our singing, especially singing in front of people, because chances are we all deal with this. And I'm going to also be sharing one of the simplest ways that can help you overcome this. It's such a simple idea, such a simple perspective shift to help you overcome this. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Singing Simply Show. My name is Ivan, and on this podcast, on this show, we're here to demystify learning to sing, make it as easy and as simple as possible for you, the listener, because let's face it, learning to sing can feel challenging, it can feel difficult, especially if you are doing this on your own. And so if this sounds like something that's up your lane, make sure to save this podcast and follow this so you get first access to our episode every single Friday or Thursday for some of you in the US. Now, why is tackling today's question even relevant? Why is it even relevant for you, right? If you want to sing well, but you also want to feel good about your singing, then this is something that we have to tackle. Because here's the thing, I've worked with a lot of clients over these past years. I've worked with people who are pros, people who are absolute beginners as well. So I've worked with a spectrum of clients. You might be thinking, if I wanted to feel less secure about my singing, I just need to be a good singer, right? If I had an amazing voice, I wouldn't be insecure about my voice. Now, whilst that could be true, one thing that I've noticed from my experience is even the people who sing really well naturally, or maybe they just got a voice that should be on the radio, they could still feel insecure and hate their voice. And so isn't that interesting, right? Isn't that interesting that even if you're such a high skill level in terms of singing, you can still feel insecure about your voice. And so what this tells me is there's some other places or some other areas that we need to explore together as a team. And so if you want to become less insecure about your voice, here is my number one tip. If you can master this, if you can own this, if you can really implement this into your own singing, into your own lifestyle, then this is going to change the way you sing, to change the way you tackle these moments where you feel totally insecure about your voice. Let's actually tackle it together like this. And I've got a little question for you to think about as we're going through this podcast. When do you feel most confident about your singing? Or maybe in general, when do you feel most confident? Because, the opposite of being insecure is being more secure about yourself, aka confident. When do you feel most confident about yourself? Now, you might even want to pause this podcast just to answer this question for yourself. Is it when you get lots of praise? When you get praise from your friends, your family? Is it when you have done something really well and internally you feel like I've done it, I'm good? Is it, something more tangible, like you've hit the high notes in a performance? What makes you feel confident, especially when it comes to singing? Now, chances are it probably was one of those couple that I have mentioned it. But here's the thing that I want to challenge you on. If you value yourself based off how much praise you get, how well you've done, maybe how many of the high notes you've hit, there's always going to be moments where you don't get that praise. There's always going to be moments where maybe you don't hit those high notes. Maybe there's moments where you don't feel like you've done as well. And I know this for a fact because some people who reach out to me over Instagram or over social media, often they tell me, hey, my friends and family, they tell me I can't sing. And so therefore I feel really, really insecure about my voice. And chances are you've experienced this. It's probably why you're listening to this podcast right now. But if that's the case, one thing I would love to challenge you on is let's not value ourselves based off how much praise we've gotten. How well did we sing? But try this. I want you to value your own singing or your own confidence based off how much did I learn? How much did I learn? And this is actually a concept that came out of Tom Bilyeu, who is the founder of Impact Theory, basically this awesome brand that talks about personal development. Now, the reason why I think this is also important for us as singers is when you can value yourself based off how much you learned, yourself as a learner, then all of a sudden you become confident or you become unstoppable because every time something challenges you, or maybe you get faced with a setback where people tell you you can't sing, you see this just as another opportunity to get better. You see this actually as another hurdle. But if you value yourself based off praise, based off, did I hit those high notes? When you don't meet that expectation, all of a sudden you start beating yourself down. You start bringing yourself down. But if we can switch this lens, let's not value praise as good as it can feel. Let's start valuing ourselves on how much we learned. And I know this might be a little confronting to listen to, and you might even feel a little bit triggered by this, but I want you to let this simmer in. Let this simmer in. What if moving forward, you base your self-esteem or your confidence about your singing on how much did I learn? How much am I learning? Was I a learner in this moment? Versus how much praise versus how well I felt I did, right? But how much did you learn? And when you can do this, right, when you can really, really implement this, all of a sudden, no matter what people say to you, it becomes just another hurdle to overcome. And so I actually want to leave you with a bit of an exercise to implement this, because chances are, if you're feeling insecure about your voice, this is not the first time it's happened, right? It's probably something that's happened again and again. And so we need to help our brains, right? Help our own brains get out of that cycle of feeling insecure, which means we might be basing our value off someone else's opinion, someone else's judgment. We've got to switch that. And so what I want you to do is, if you've got like a hairband or if you've got like a rubber band, grab one of those and I want you to pop it onto your wrist. And so here's the exercise. For the next 7 days, if there is a moment where you feel insecure, in general, it doesn't have to be singing, or maybe you feel insecure about your voice. You notice these kind of self-doubt or these thoughts come into your head. You're like, man, why does my voice sound like this? I don't want to sing in front of people. Or, every time you've got people around you, you kind of get really, really quiet, right? Whatever that moment is, I want you to flick your wrist. I want you to pull back on that band and flick on your wrist. Pull on your band and flick on your wrist. And then I want you to just become aware of these thoughts. Become aware of these thoughts. And if you can, see if you can switch into your learner's mindset for a moment. What would a learner say in this moment? Maybe you've got your neighbors next door and you're singing and you're getting a bit quiet and you notice those thoughts. So then you flick your band. What would a learner think in that moment? Maybe it is, hey, this is a chance for me to overcome my anxiety, overcome my fear of singing in front of people. So let me go for it. Or maybe, hey, these sounds that I'm making are, maybe I don't want people to hear it, but, I'm just going to be okay with it for this time because I'm growing, right? See if you can make this shift with your thoughts. And that's it, team. If you are feeling insecure about your voice, here is a little idea to help you start navigating past this. So I hope this brings value to you. If you found this episode useful, please share this episode with your circles, your friends, your family, because the more people who hear this, the more we can share these messages, and any support that you guys provide would be amazing. A little idea is take a screenshot of this episode and pop it onto your Instagram story and tag me. Tag me at Sing with Ivan. I'd love to get connected with you and get to know you all a bit more because you guys are amazing. So apart from that, remember, you are not your limitations, and I'll see you all for our next episode every single Friday. Take care, team.